All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining today's webinar, Solar Leasing 101, hosted by Cape Fear Solar Systems. We know this is a busy time of year, so thanks for tagging in, and we look forward to getting right into it. Before starting, just a quick overview. In a moment, we'll talk a little bit about who we are here at Cape Fear for anyone who's not familiar. Then we'll get into how solar leasing works, how it maybe differs from system ownership, traditional purchase. We'll talk about the benefits and considerations that need to be made, as well as the types of solar leases that are available and who solar leasing might be a good fit for. At the end, if we have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them during some Q&A with our project developers, Dar Hupsch and Alexander Reyes. You're welcome to submit any questions into the Q&A section within the program here in Zoom. All right, jumping into it. So many of you already may be familiar with who we are. We've been in business now since 2007. So in our 18th year, we've got 4,500 plus installations in and around the Eastern Carolinas. And our team now has about 70 employees. Here in this map, you can see a few of the local commercial recognizable installations that we've done with businesses in our local region. And of course, where we're located here on South Front Street in downtown Wilmington, as well as the American flag solar array on our roof. We've frequently been voted the #1 solar installer in southeastern North Carolina, and prioritize installing solar battery and EV charging solutions for our customers, but also just want to be able to provide solutions for the energy needs that folks have when they talk to us, and that's with home and business owners. All right, so let's get into leasing. So solar leasing, we'll start off by looking at how it works, break it down very simply. So in a leasing arrangement, the bank or leasing company owns the system. So not very dissimilar from when you lease a vehicle. When you lease a vehicle, you're not the one that owns it, but you make payments on it. The homeowner is signing a lease agreement with that bank or lease company, and the system is installed on the home. The homeowner is then able to benefit from reduced electricity bills because the solar production is offsetting their usage. They're going to get credit still from the utility as are applicable and get all of the benefits that system's performance is going to provide to them. And in return, the homeowner just has to make monthly payments towards the lease of that system to that bank or leasing company. And so that's a very simple breakdown of how that works. Getting into how it differs from system ownership is that the bank and leasing company, they retain ownership of the system, of course. And so you do not own the system on your roof, but that also means that the bank and leasing company is responsible for maintenance and upkeep of the system. So what might be in some cases considered a burden, if I own a system on my home outside of the warranties that I'm afforded, if an issue arises, it's my responsibility to resolve them, to pay for those fixes. In a lease arrangement, the lease company is the owner of the system and is therefore responsible for all of that maintenance and upkeep that might be required. In addition, the bank and leasing company may also claim any available incentives for the installation and ownership of the system. So that applies to any tax incentives that might be available for a commercial entity, which is significant, as well as depreciation or other incentives that could be available to them as a business. Some of the additional benefits and things to consider include, homeowner does not bear the responsibility of system upkeep, as we just discussed. The bank or leasing company guarantees a certain level of performance or savings. One of the simple natures of these system arrangements is that bank or leasing company is expecting that you're going to pay the lease payment. In order for you to do that, they're balancing that payment against what you're going to expect to save. So it can feel to be a very secure investment on their part to have had that system installed on your home. And so they guarantee a certain level of savings over the life of that lease. Now, the lease does not impact the homeowner's debt to income, which is a huge value. If you're looking at what's my ability to go on and make additional investments, then you're not going to be limited by having had this lease solar system. The lease is also transferable to future homeowners. So if the point were to come where you're trying to sell your home and you're wondering, what do I do here? That lease, all of the guarantees that are built within it are entirely transferable to the new homeowner. And you do, however, have the option to buy out the lease either at the sale of your home or as soon as year 6 of that lease term. The homeowner also does not need to file for any of the incentives themselves. So, of course, as has been the case in the past, if you are trying to claim any tax incentives that would have been available or otherwise, there is some responsibility on your part to go and file for those incentives, especially as it comes to, tax incentives that can be burdensome, confusing, and eligibility can be in question. Whereas in this scenario, if the lease company or the bank is the one that is claiming those incentives, then they are entirely responsible for doing so, and you are alleviated of that responsibility. This also means that you have predictable energy costs through the lease payments because you know what your payment is going to be for the lease, what expectations you can have for what amount of your electricity is going to be covered. And that provides a greater deal of predictability than if you're simply going to look at all of your electricity continuing to undergo utility rate increases year over year over year. So it's simply going to decrease the portion of your electricity through the production of electricity by the solar system that is going to be otherwise at risk to go up at a much higher rate from the utility. Of course, this means that you also have no upfront costs because your lease payment is going to cover your commitment to having the system perform for you. And another little piece to be aware of is that systems that include batteries, solar and battery systems that you're leasing, where available, those are going to also include an extended warranty to 25 years on that battery, which is pretty significant. If you have a battery that you've purchased as a part of your system, many manufacturers, those warranties are for 10 or 15 years. There is not a battery product that I'm aware of in the market that has a 25-year warranty for a home battery system. And so what they're doing is they're saying this lease term is for 25 years in many cases. If that's the case and you've got a battery included as part of it, then we're going to be prepared to come out and replace that battery at the point in which it fails beyond the warranty, as long as it's within that 25 years. So that's pretty substantial. All right, so some additional benefits and things to consider. This is how leases really provide that predictable cost amid rising utility rates. The monthly lease payments are going to increase annually at a rate below inflation. So depending on your system, your design, as well as what you're looking to save from day one, that rate is going to be between 0.99% and 2.99%, well below the rate of inflation, and well below the rate that electricity rates have been increasing. In fact, we've seen about 6% over the last 5 or so years, and over even 25, 30 years, you can see it to be averaged around 4%. Duke Energy also recently proposed an increase of about 15% over the next 2 years. That's about 7.5% per year for that period. This also, because it's a leased system and not a purchase system, credit requirements do apply, but it's not going to show on your credit, right? We talked about it not being on your debt to income. It's not going to show as a line of credit on your credit report. Terms are typically for 25 years, but other options might be available. In the event of a sale, the new homeowner would need to qualify for the lease. So just something to consider. If you were to transfer the lease to a new homeowner, they would have to go through the same qualification process, but the same agreement would apply to them as well. All right, so a couple things here on the types of solar leases that are available. The most common available is just a traditional solar only lease. And what this really affords is built-in savings for the homeowner. As we've been looking at these figures from one house to another, most customers can expect to save anywhere from $20 to $60 or more per month on energy costs from day one. So that means that the amount that you can expect to save as part of the guaranteed agreement through the leasing entity is going to be at least $20 to $60 more than what your lease payment is going to be from day one. And as time goes on and your electricity savings increases as utility rates continue to increase, that will happen at a higher rate than what your lease payment would go up by. So you're really guaranteed the savings within that type of arrangement. There are also some solar and battery options that might be available. Those are going to come at an additional monthly cost for the battery portion, of course, which in many cases isn't really going to provide additional savings. So it's really just there to say, yes, I'm able to save some money with the solar producing electricity, offsetting a portion of my utility costs. But I really want to have the value of the battery to be able to have backup power in the event of an outage. So that could be an option as well. There are also cases where a battery-only lease might make sense, whether you already have a solar system on your home or are just looking for a way to be able to have a little bit of backup power. You could investigate a battery-only solution. Those are going to have a 10-year term in many cases to match up with the existing warranty. They're going to provide you with that backup power, and some programs may allow you to participate in battery control programs if they're available. And that's something we could help explore as well. These are, for now, the options that are available, and there may be others that develop in the future. Our goal as your local experts is to navigate the options that are out there, make sure that we're providing the best one for you and your situation, whether that's a lease or purchase as well. To that point, so who's solar leasing a good fit for? Matching solar leasing benefits to homeowner needs is a big part of what we're trying to do. It's certainly not a good fit for everyone, but we do think that there are products in the form of these leases or financing options or just purchasing cash to be able to find a solution for many of the folks that we're talking with. And so for the leasing product, this is really best suited for homeowners who are looking to decrease their monthly energy expenses immediately. They really want to start to realize those savings right away. Homeowners who are planning to live in their home for the foreseeable future. If you're planning to move a year from now, 2 years from now, this might not be the best fit. Certainly, you can transfer this to the next home buyer, but we want you to be able to take advantage of the majority of those savings, which, while that is from day one, it also compounds over time. Homeowners concerned about rising electricity rates. If you're someone who's looking at all of the AI data center activity, all of the demand that's being added to the grid, and like us are concerned about how the utilities are going to go about meeting that demand and what they're most recently talking about in the form of this rate increase, then this is a great way to fix a portion of your costs in a predictable way so that you know what your utility expenses can look like relative to the savings that you're guaranteed to receive in the form of a lease like this. In addition, homeowners who might have looked into solar in the past, looked at a cash or a different option, and it's really important to them that they look at a no upfront investment, but want to save money right away. This is a great way to explore that. And then lastly, homeowners who are interested in additional warranty coverage and guarantees. One of the things that we're certainly aware of is that there have been bad actors in the industry, whether it's from the manufacturing side or otherwise. And something like one of these lease arrangements does afford you additional guarantees and warranties that they're going to be responsible for that system upkeep, even if something were to happen with one of the manufacturers of the piece of equipment that goes in or otherwise. And so if it's something that you'd like to have that additional layer of security, then that's certainly helpful as well. All right, so that's a lot of information, and I covered that pretty quickly. So if you're interested in learning more and you want to see what it could look like for you, see what the numbers are, how much you could save, then we certainly encourage you to feel free to just contact us. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Our phone number is right there, as well as the contact us QR code. You're also welcome to go straight to just booking a call. If you'd like to talk to somebody on our project consultant team, they'll talk to you about time with the project developer so they can get a little bit more intentional to design a system custom for your goals and needs. Otherwise, we're happy to answer some questions here. And I will turn to the Q&A to see if there are any for us to jump into. All right, let's see here. So I think the one good question That's a good question. Thanks, Matt. So, quick question, and maybe Dar, if you want to jump on this, because I think there's obviously a reason we're talking about it now. Is leasing only recently available in NC?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gabe. Matt, that's a great question. I think from my understanding, leases have been uncommon in North Carolina. It's very difficult for them to get approved. The Utilities Commission has a lot of control over that. I think we've become aware of them becoming more popular in the last few years in an environment where maybe interest rates were higher. We're really excited to start offering this as an option moving forward to next year with the incentive landscape changing for ownership and more opportunities to help people realize the upfront savings that Gabe mentioned throughout the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Dar. I think just to add to that very briefly, another one of the reasons I think it wasn't as popular here, there's the Utilities Commission and the regulation side of it, getting it approved there. I also think that there was little incentive from some of the larger players in the leasing space to enter a state like North Carolina, where we've historically had pretty low cost of electricity. And much of what they have to offer requires that they're able to, extend savings to these homeowners. And so if you have low cost of electricity, then they're not really able to do that, right? And so with rates going up as much as they have over the last 2, 3, 5 years now, there's room for them to come in and say, okay, we can do this where we can purchase the system and own it and provide a leasing payment to you that is going to save you money. And so I think that's a big part of what we've seen as well. One quick question I know that comes up a lot, Dar or Alex, if you want to jump in on this, is what happens at the end of the 25-year lease?
Yeah, that is a question that we asked a lot, Gabe. It's an interesting one. From what I understand, the homeowner is going to have some options if they would like the company to come and remove the system and restore their roof. That option is available to them. If they'd like to continue benefiting from the energy savings of having the system uh, be part of their home beyond the warranty period, there's an option where they can realize that as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Well, I know that we covered a lot. I don't want to spend too much time covering, if we've answered all the questions that we have for today. Um, but if anyone has any additional questions, I encourage you to feel free to reach out. My email is gabe@capefearsolarsystems.com, dar@capefearsolarsystems.com, and alex@capefearsolarsystems.com to reach them as well. We'd love to answer any additional questions that might come up. Otherwise, if it's a good fit for you, then we can help explore that as well. We'll have a webinar again next month. If you have a topic that you think would be good for us to cover, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, we hope you have a great holiday season and Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.